Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there. Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
My name is Richard Ferrer, and I can say I am cloud hired.
That yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family. I'm cloud hired.
So I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired.
Because of Google Architect program, I am cloud hired. See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the Glow Cloud team.
Welcome everyone. Today we are here again in a Cloud Architect Q&A to help you build your cloud computing career. Maybe you're looking for the Cloud Architect roadmap or what it takes to become an AWS Solutions Architect, or you want to learn the Cloud Architect skills so you can get some of the best cloud computing jobs. That's why we're here. I've been an architect for over 25 years now, and it's been the best job I've ever had. I'm also the CEO of Go Cloud Careers, and I have graduates working at Apple and Amazon and Cisco and Google and IBM and Accenture, Deloitte, KPMG, Capgemini, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and every prestigious organization you can imagine. And I've been helping others build elite technology careers for 20 years plus. So got lots of exciting things to cover, but I want you to get your first architect job. I want you to know how to build your cloud career. So ask us your questions so we can help you. Don't be afraid to ask, what is a cloud solution architect versus what is a solution architect versus what is a cloud architect. Don't be afraid to ask us does a cloud architect do, or those critical skills we have, or even what we do at Go Cloud Architects or Go Cloud Careers. Feel free to answer your questions. And I love answering questions, and I absolutely love helping people build elite technology careers. So before we begin, let me tell you about some free exciting things that we have to help you build a cloud architect career or a solution architect career. Well, we have a completely free guide to getting your first cloud architect job. My team will drop that in the chat box. It's also in the description of this video. And we will cover every skill you need to learn to become a great cloud architect. And it's not the skills you think it is, most likely. But I want you to get hired, so I need you to know what the right skills are to be an architect. So get the free architect guide. We also have a completely free guide on how to win the interview. Look, I've been coaching people in interviews for about 25 years now. I've never been on an interview where I've not gotten a better job or the same job that I interviewed for. Never in my life. And I want you to have that same success. And tomorrow, guess what? We have a webinar on how to become an enterprise architect, which is absolutely one of the best and most fun technology careers in the entire world. And with all these organizations that are using technology and not driving benefits, it's creating more demand for the enterprise architect. And as a bonus, since we're pre-launching that course and it goes live next week, it's 50% off until next week. So take advantage of that opportunity and build your cloud computing career. So don't be shy. Ask us your questions. I don't bite. I'm here with my good friend and Chief Marketing Officer, Alonzo. He doesn't bite. So Alonzo, you want to welcome some people, invite them to ask some questions?
Absolutely, Mike. Everyone, please. This is your opportunity. We say this a lot, but now is your chance. We have people who have only just now had an opportunity to meet with us on a live panel such as this. So we have an opportunity to expand your thoughts on cloud architecture, enterprise architecture, what it takes to get to this role, how you can be successful moving forward. So please, there is no question that's out of bounds. Let's get into it and find out how we can transform you all into becoming architects.
Exactly. That's our whole goal. So don't be shy. Ask us your questions, and we will do anything we can to assist you.
This is my cloud station. Hey, it's good to see you. How can an individual who is new to IT achieve his or her goals of becoming a cloud architect?
Cloud Station, it's very easy. What if I told you that I used to work in healthcare? In fact, I went to school for 7 years in healthcare, and 6 months later, I was working in tech. I can also tell you, I'll give you a few examples of people that never worked in tech. Jennifer Ema, mental health worker, got her job at JP Morgan Chase working in tech. Let's talk about Wallace Agana, a sales rep, got his first job at JP Morgan Chase. Or Al Legister, who never worked in tech, who got his first job as a senior solution architect with Deloitte. Or Balwinder, who was a stay-at-home mom who we trained and got hired by Microsoft. Vladimir, a 24-year-old college student who we got a great job for. We can also give you examples of Noah Parker, who was a social worker who we got his first architect job for. And we can talk about people like Daniel Bosu, never worked in tech, we got him hired. We can talk about people like Ivan Tamber or Jordan Kitko, who were hired by AWS with no experience, or Jeffrey West, who got his first tech job with no experience. So here's what you need to do. The first thing you need to do is figure out what career you want. Wondering what career you want. And once you know what career you want, then you need to work backwards. So you need to find all the skills and competency for that career. And guess what? I've got a document for you that lists all of these skills, Cloud Station. But here's what I want you to understand. The architect and the engineer are completely different positions. Both are equally important. Look, I love engineers. Engineers build the systems. They bring them to life and they fix them when they break. And the world without cloud engineers would be nothing. You'd have architects designing pictures and documents and giving presentations. So the architect's job is as follows. We have to figure out what our client's business needs. Then we need to figure out how the business operates today and how they want to operate in the future. And then after that, we need to examine what tech they have and figure out what tech can make them operate better in the future. Now, at this point, everything changes. Once we know how they want to operate in the future, then we work backwards to figure out what types of technology we need to get there. Then we've got to document it. We've got to present it back to the customer. We've got to sell and negotiate it, and then close the deal. And then we go on to another client, and the magical, brilliant cloud engineers bring it to life, and they actually build it. So that's really the thing. So all you need to do is get the right skills. Now, the skills are really important. And what are they for being a cloud architect? I'll summarize them here, but I've listed 100% of them for you in that document. You must know the network in the data center and the cloud. Now, why do I say the network in the data center? Well, if you strip off all the fancy marketing terms that the cloud providers use in their certifications, all the cloud is just somebody else's data center that you rent space in. So I like to think of the cloud as a hotel room inside of a bigger hotel, because that's what's really going on. Now, you can build your house, which is your data center, and live in your house, which is like living in a data center, or you can go to a 5-star hotel and take advantage of the good scotch they have to drink, the good steaks they have to cook, if you like to eat steak, or the good seafood they have, and the nice comfy mattresses and the valet parking. But when you stay in a hotel, you're going to pay more for it than if you actually stayed in your home, and that's okay. So you need network, data center, and cloud on the technical side. Now, on the business side, you need to be good at presentations. And I've seen people that don't practice presentations because they didn't train us lose the interview because of the presentations. You need to be able to sell and ethically motivate people and persuade them to do things. You need to be able to lead and lead large teams because you're going to be designing large teams. You need to understand business because if you're going to help a client with their business, you've got to learn business. And then guess what? After you know those things, and you know how to put the technology pieces together from the network, the data center, and the cloud, you can do it. And you also have to understand those things because it's not like you're just going to stick your clients in AWS or just Azure or just Google. And 98% of the time, you're dealing with hybrid multi-clouds where you've got a data center and multiple clouds. So you've got to think of it that way. It's never going to be a single cloud. It's never going to be like a certification. So join us on our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect webinar. Download that completely free guide. And if you'd like, we would love to train you. We've got an incredible cloud architect program with graduates in all the finest institutions in the world. But if not, and you want to train your own and you want to go to business school and learn those business things, that's fine. I just want you to know how to get the right skills, and I want to get you hired. So please feel free to ask more questions, Cloud Station. We love answering questions, and we love helping people build their career.
Next question, Style Plus. You guys helped me get my first tech contract. Thank you, Mike.
Style Plus, we love to hear that. Alonzo and I and Chris, we live for this. In fact, we all even have a happy dance, although I've got one on one foot because my left foot is damaged from some martial arts. But I am thrilled for you. Congratulations. This is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful news. Let us know how we can help you build an even bigger and better career in your life. And congratulations again. I love this.
From Cloud Station again, which domains of cloud architecture require technical competency?
So Cloud Station, it's really about system design. And I saw somebody ask a question. We're going to get to all your questions. We want to help you as much as we can, whether you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, or another platform, we will get to you. So the domains of cloud architecture you have to understand fall into the networking, the data center, and the cloud. Now, what does that really mean? Well, when you talk about the data center, you typically talk about routers and switches. That's the networking thing, and private lines and connections. We have all those same things in cloud computing. So you can count that as networking. We also deal with routing protocols like BGP in the cloud. Count all that as networking. Now, next, what does the cloud have? It has compute, right? So the same servers you have in your data center and virtual machines you have in your data center, and we've had for the last 20-some years, the cloud providers have. Now, they may call it EC2 or Azure Virtual Machine or Oracle Virtual Machine or Google Compute Engine Instance, but it's the identical thing for the last 25 years. Now, next, we deal with containers and container orchestration. In the data center or the cloud, it's the same stuff. So guess what? We need to understand that. Now, when we're dealing with private clouds, hybrid clouds, multi-clouds, we need to understand storage, right? Good news. It's the same storage area networking we've dealt with for the last 25 to 50 years in the data center, which means block storage, object storage, and file storage. Now, of course, we need to understand databases, right? And data. So it'll be relational databases and NoSQL databases for such, and how to make these systems scale. And that's going to be critically important. Now, if our job is to make businesses perform better, we need to understand the applications that can enhance a business. What can a database do to enhance the business? What can unified communications do for the business? What can an ERP system do for the business? What can a CRM system do for the business? So we have to understand that. And then we also have to understand high availability principles, which is how to make sure we've got no single points of failure based upon the level of business needs and requirements we have. And we need to understand security. And believe me, you're not going to go to the AWS Security Hub and call that security. That's not security. That's just an intro to it. You're going to have to deal with all of the security things, whether they be next generation firewalls, IDS, IPS systems, VPN concentrators, leveraging zero trust architectures, and or defense in depth. And good news, Cloud Station, you can learn them all. I promise you, you can learn them all. It takes me about 6 to 12 months to get somebody hired from scratch as a cloud architect, and you can learn them all. So go after it. Download the free document, and while you're at it, join us in the How to Get Your First Enterprise Architect Job tomorrow and How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job next Thursday. I want to make sure you're really successful. And thanks for asking your questions.
Again from Cloud Station, I recently met with someone who just wants to be an intro-level cloud architect and not bother too much about cloud career progression while starting out their cloud career. Is this a wrong thing to do?
Cloud Station, it is a terrible thing to do. And here's the reason why. First, if you don't move up in a company, you will be laid off. It's just a matter of time. So what companies do, and I hate to say this, and it sounds horrible, is organizations stack rank their employees once a year. And they have their top 10%, they have their middle 80%, and then they have their bottom 10%. And sadly, and again, it's not what I wish happened, but it's what happens is the bottom 10% typically gets laid off every year or two. So you don't want to ever be average. Now, the other thing is you've got to progress and you've got to grow. I like to say the Cisco Certified Internet Expert was my intro to networking. And look, that was the most hard exam I ever did in my entire life. But here's why it was the intro. Only once when I passed that did I actually get to be put on the big projects, the kind of big projects that built my career. So there's that. Plus, do you really want to be in the same position 30 years from now as you are now? Probably not. You know, you can move up. So the key is to be the best you can, to know as much as you can to get that first job, and then to get better every day. And that's how you stay in the game. Look, I've been around and I've survived over 20 some layoffs at organizations. And it crushed me every single time, but I don't want to be in that bottom 10% ever, because it's a dangerous place to be. So we need to get you to an intro-level cloud architect to get your first job, which is more than most people think it is. And then we want you to get better every day. And it's our nature to want to compete. It's our nature to want to be better. And our companies demand it from us. So it's up to you. But I don't ever train for intro level. My first job was a senior engineer. I was an architect within 6 months. And within 2 years, I was a principal architect. So you've got a choice. Do you want that $150,000 intro job? Or 3 years later, do you want a $500,000 principal architect job? And what do you need for you? And what do you need for your family? See, I had big dreams of changing lives all over the world. And I did so. And that's why I was able to basically save what I needed in my architect job and then run a program at essentially cost, so that we could change lives at the lowest cost possible. Because that was my dream. And I couldn't do that without the financial resources to do it. So what are your goals and dreams? But people I coach, I want them to be better than just average. I want them to be great. I want them to be the best. You know, when you get those big bonuses at the end of the year, it feels good. When you can pay your house off in 2 years, that feels good. When you've got a relative that needs financial help and you can help them, that feels good. So, you know, that's me. How about this, Alonzo? What's your perspective on this?
Oh, man, I couldn't have said it better. I think one of the mental things that people feel is that it's a hard entry point to become a cloud architect, and people would rather settle by getting their quote unquote foot in the door instead of making sure through competency that door is going to be open for you wide as can be, so that you can step into the right career and be very good at it. Never think that this job is going to require years of working your way up the corporate ladder from IT desktop and moving to engineering and up and up and up you go. No, you have the opportunity to have all the competency you need to get in that door, get a very lucrative six-figure position, and continue to go upwards. Everything is performance based because performance equals success. Success equals the money that is generated to make this company move forward day to day. So we need those go-getters. We need those people who are willing to step out of their comfort zone, continue to learn, grow, learn about new technology, how it's applicable to our clients or that prospective client, and helping them move forward and provide a great, strong brand for the organization that you work with. So start here, start today, start getting that confidence in you for you and your friends to know that you all can do this job and it doesn't take years of experience to get there. From Aubrey, could you walk us through a time where you had to provide a tough deliverable to a client? What was the timetable and what processes did you go through, starting with asking about business objectives?
Well, Aubrey, I can tell you, I've never been on an architecture that didn't have a tight timetable. And here's the reason. When I got my first job as a senior engineer, which I held very shortly, it was my first tech job. Within about a month and a half, the architects and the design team were laid off because I was working for WorldCom and they were a financial disaster. And I got told, Mike, you're the new architect. Yes, I know you've only been working in tech for 2 weeks. You got hundreds of engineers that now are going to support you. And I went, okay. So there was that. Within 2 years, I was a principal architect. And I can tell you, Aubrey, I've consulted to the majority of the world's largest internet service providers. I've consulted to about a third of the world's largest global banks. And I've consulted to the largest healthcare organizations and governments in the world about how to deliver better healthcare care via technology. So there's never been a time. I'll tell you what I do. I start with the CEO. I'm going to say it again. I start with the C-suite. Now, when I was new in my career, I would have my manager, I would escalate into my manager, look, can you get the VP of sales to go talk to that client so I can get in the room with the executives? And I might go in there with the VP. And I might go in there with the global account managers. And I might go in there myself and we would ask questions together. Because if you don't find the business vision from the top and the start, everything else just falls apart. Now, if somebody's issued an RFP and they've given it to you as a proposal, you may not go through these steps. But if you wait for an RFP to come in to respond, it's already too late because you want to be able to influence that RFP. So I always start with the executives. And reason I start with the executives is I ask them, can I speak to certain members of your team and who would you like me to speak to? Who is it that runs your IT department right now? Your CIO. Can you make sure they speak with me? Who runs your software development team? I want to talk to them. Who runs each business unit? I need to understand their goals, their pain points, and their challenges. Now from there, that's when the magic starts because I can go have these conversations. And then what do I do? See, I work on billion-dollar architectures. I don't work on anything small. I mean, I work on the biggest of the big. So I always build my team. So I go back to my organization and I sell my management why I need the next 50 people for the next 6 months to a year or 10 people, depending upon how big the architecture is. And that means I have to quantify the sales opportunity and show it to management. Because if I need $250,000 a year people, fully loaded salaries for 6 months, there's a cost to that. And I have to justify that cost. So first I build that team. Then typically, if it's something critical, I hire a project manager from inside the organization and they manage the deliverables. They're like taskmasters and they're coming in, is this thing done? Is this thing done? Is this thing done? And guess what? I even have the project managers manage my tasks to make sure everything done is done on time because you never want to miss. Then, I'm in meetings. I get into what's called the war room where you get a bunch of people in a room together and that's going to happen. And it could be a virtual room or a physical room, but it's usually going to be physical for at least some of these meetings if we're going to fly somewhere as a team. And why do we do it? First, we got to get the team together. When you build a team, there's the 4 phases: the forming, starming, norming, and performing. So you got to get everybody bought in and you got to get everybody there. So we got to go create those team building things. Maybe take people from some steaks and scotch and lobster. Maybe take them playing golf or a sporting thing just to get everybody in the same room to really know each other and like that. Then I've got that team. Then we start designing our things. My identity and access management architects design the IAM strategy. My security architects design the security strategy. The network architects design their networking things. The data scientists do their thing to make sure we can use the data. The AI architects, and now they're becoming more popular and needed, do their thing. And of course, I'll typically get some DevOps engineers because we want to get their insight into automation. We'll typically get some great cloud engineers. Why? Because they focus on the tech, where we architects focus on the business, and we're going to need their insight and their smart depth of knowledge in that technology to make sure that everything works. And then we're going to document it. I'm going to write it up. On a big architecture, I'm going to send it to a professional writer, and they're going to edit it. They're going to take any graphics my team drew, and whether it be Visio, Lucidchart, Draw.io, or PowerPoint, and then they're going to hire a graphics artist in Adobe InDesign, and they're going to make it beautiful and make all these graphics look uniform and perfect. And then we're going to submit that proposal. We're going to have lots of dinners with the clients, lots of discussions. We may change that architecture 3 to 10 times to make it what it needs. Then we negotiate the deal, close the deal, and it's off to the new project. And it's the most fun thing because you never get bored, because every day is a new day. Every day is a learning opportunity. I think it's the greatest thing ever, because I get bored if I do the same thing day in and day out and day in and day out. But every architecture is a tough deliverable, unless you're just starting your career. And when you're starting your career, it's still a tough deliverable, even if it's small. And as you get bigger and it's $1 billion architecture, it's there. So I'll give you a secret, Aubrey. You know, the reality is, no matter where you're at, it's tough. When you're in the beginning, here's why it's tough. You've never done it before, and you barely know where to begin. And guess what? As you become more and more senior, people will ask you to do things that have never been done before again. So now you're trying to think of, okay, in the internet service provider world, they did this. Maybe we can use this in healthcare. In the banking world, we got this, and maybe we can take a little of that into healthcare. Wait, what else can we take from what industry to maximize it? And that's how you do things, with a lot of research, a lot of reading, and a lot of meetings. And that's why architects probably spend 50 to 75% of their time in meetings. And when people ask what a cloud architect does, and I say meetings, presentations, documentation, research, discussions with the customer, entertaining clients, and they're like, wait, we don't touch the code? No. We don't configure the tech? No, we can't. We're too busy on all these things. So that's a great question, Aubrey. And please ask more questions. I really want to help you.
You know, and another thing is the ambiguity, Mike, you know, being able to adapt to all those missing pieces, which lends to strengthening your competency, your ability to adapt in scenarios, staying fluid in the environment that are often subject to change. And it strengthens you, and it creates such a presence of adaptability and confidence in what you know how to do and how you deliver solutions. I don't see how anyone wouldn't love to be in that position. From Catlejo, I'm currently working as a software tester and would like to grow into the cloud. I am currently preparing for my solutions architect exam. I've just completed my cloud practitioner. I need to know how I get attention and interview calls.
Well, the first question I have for you is, what career is it that you actually desire? Yes, I've seen you're a software tester, and yes, I've seen that you've done the cloud practitioner, which right now would prepare you to be a software tester on the cloud. But do you want to be a cloud engineer who builds things? Do you want to be a DevOps engineer who automates things? Do you want to be a cloud architect or a solution architect who designs things? Do you want to be a cloud network architect, a cloud security architect, a big data architect on the cloud? All of these are very different careers. So the first thing we need to know is what you want to do, and hopefully you answer that while I'm going through this. And here's why. If you want to be an architect and you're showing yourself as a software developer in what you do, people will ignore you because they want an architect, not a software developer. If you show yourself as a cloud engineer, guess what? People won't hire you as an architect because they want you to be an architect. If you show yourself as an architect, nobody wants to hire you as a cloud engineer. So which one of these cloud jobs would you absolutely like to have? You can tell me that. I can easily tell you how to get there and how to stand out. But as a rule, we need to know what your career. As an architect, for example, if you write thought leadership documents about how to show how a certain technology can enhance financial performance to an organization, and you explain that, that's getting things for you. Likewise, if you said you set up a WordPress website on AWS and you want to be an architect, they'd say, no, thank you. Now, if you wanted to be a cloud admin, they'd probably say, yeah, this is great. So what is it you want to do? That's the first step. What would you like to do? Because we want to help you, but it's like getting on an airplane. Which airplane should I get on? I don't know. Do you want to go to Athens, Greece? Okay, I can tell you to take this flight. You want to go to Cape Town to go hang out with Tyrone from our team? I can tell you how to get there. You want to go to Bamenda, Cameroon to meet with Eddie on our team? I can tell you how to get there, but I need to know your destination first. So maybe you can tell us your destination and we can get you there. But I will say this for everyone, it's a matter of getting the real world hands-on experience. Now, hands-on experience for an architect might be designing a solution, writing a thought leadership document, giving a presentation, creating a system design. That's architect hands-on work. Engineering hands-on work is how to build. So it's a matter of getting the right skills, and I promise you, none of them are covered in certifications. I wish it wasn't true, but they're just not covered in certifications. So, don't get a ton of certifications. We want you to get, 1 to 3 professional certifications. And why do we want them? It'll help you get an interview. And then here's what we need to get you to do. Learn all of the best skills that are going to get you hired for your specific career. And that's where people go wrong in tech. When I went to college and I studied to be a nurse practitioner, I went to the nurse practitioner program, which was very different than the pharmacist program, which was very different than the physical therapist program. Where people go wrong in tech is they just think they can take one training program and get hired. There's a program out there that says, we'll train you for sysops jobs, DevOps jobs, and architect jobs in the same class. And then we have to retrain 100% of them because they only know sysops and DevOps and they know nothing about architecture. So tell us what you'd like. Getting an interview is nothing when you know how to create the right message, but it has to be the right message for your intended job. And please tell us, because we do want to help you, but I can't really assist you without knowing what your goal is first. Kind of like when you go to the doctor, and if you didn't say my throat hurts, they wouldn't know what to treat. So please give us some information.
From Simon, I'm wondering if you handle topics on financial institutions. Given that regulations vary globally, how can we ensure everyone understands their own country's rules?
So Simon, I've been working in the financial industry forever. Here's what I can tell you. You can pretty much forget about all those government rules because none of them are going to be anywhere near as stringent as what the banks have to do themselves. So, there's always going to be some framework or you need to keep this secure or that secure. Yeah, they're there. But here's the reality. I've got a bank with billions or trillions of dollars under management. I've got many banks where 1 second of downtime is $1 million of loss. Many of them that I've worked on. And, they can't afford, to lose $60 million in an hour because of a tech issue or because of a security event or the brand damage. So don't worry so much about the governmental regulations at first. Create the design that's necessary to help your client meet their goals. And then check and see if it meets the legal requirements. And don't forget, these companies are going to have teams of lawyers. They're going to interpret those government's requirements and that are going to assist you with this. So that's the last thing you need to worry about. First, you got to make it work. Now, it's like healthcare. There's HIPAA requirements, which says you got to keep your information secure and it can only be sent to certain people that have, a business relationship. But, those things are simple. Now, how do you make a bank secure? How many layers of next generation firewalls do you need? IDS, IPS systems do you need? How many kinds of access control lists do you need? What's your IAM strategy look like? What's your encryption strategy look like? What's your defense in depth strategy look like? All of that. And I promise you, if you meet those needs for a bank, chances are you've already exceeded every single regulation in the countries that actually are there. Because they're going to need much better than the government regulations. Government regulations keep people from doing silly things for the most part. But at the level we're dealing with financial institutions, they can't afford to make those silly things. They're not there. So it's that. Now, still, I would always read and cross-check to make sure that those government regulations are actually there. But, by comparison to the business requirements, it's like a kitten versus a lion. So I build for the lion because I love lions, by the way. Ever since I saw the movie Born Free, I've just appreciated lions. So Be the lion. Make your systems meet those business needs. And I bet you 99% of the time you've already met the governance needs. And if that's not the case, then do the 1% or 2% tuning and make it on your architecture, but always check your architecture before it's deployed, obviously, against those requirements. It's a good question, Simon.
From Tin Man, I've watched several of your shows with David Linthicum and love them. I'm currently a nurse and think I'd like to become a cloud architect. What are my next steps?
Tin Man, first, I love that. Maybe you're like me and you like the Wizard of Oz movie as much as I do, or else you're like me and you've been an Olympic weightlifter and you've got arthritis in your joints and a martial artist and you feel like you need oil everywhere. In either case, love the name. So let's get past your name there. So I love that you're a nurse. I'm going to tell you that is such a huge strategic advantage for you. Why? I'm actually a nurse practitioner myself. I was a nurse before I was a nurse practitioner. And here's the thing. Cloud architecture is a job which takes an enormous amount of communication skills and an enormous amount of finesse and emotional intelligence. And when people come from healthcare, they're already there. I can tell you right now, I have 2 people in healthcare that are interviewing. One is coming from a radiology background, who's interviewing with a security company. And by interviewing, he already interviewed. And now they're asking us for references because they love him and want to hire this person. I can tell you that Jennifer was a mental health tech and we got her trained and she's now working at JP Morgan Chase. I can also tell you I'm working with a pharmacist right now. And inside of 2 weeks, she's giving presentations that many couldn't inside of 6 months. So healthcare is really good because in healthcare, we were taught so much of therapeutic communication, which is otherwise known as emotional intelligence. My wife calls it therapeutic communications because she works as a nurse practitioner. I call it emotional intelligence because I work in business, even though I'm a medical professional. But you're advantaged. And here's the good news. I will tell you that architecture is much more than like medicine. And I know medicine and nursing are different because I've kind of done both roles, than it actually is engineering. Because what do we do in healthcare? Someone comes in, they have something called the chief complaint, the thing that brings them in, their main problem. Next, what do? We ask them what makes their symptomology better and worse. After that, we come up with an assessment or diagnosis, and nursing has their diagnosis. They're different than medical diagnosis, but nurses still have their own forms of diagnosis. And then we come up with a treatment plan. What do we do in a healthcare as an architect? Mr. and Mrs. Klein, could you tell me about your business goals, pain points, or challenges? That's no different than the chief complaint. We ask some questions. We baseline their systems, like an exam, and then we make a diagnosis and a treatment plan. So it's really the same job. So Tim, I'd love to work with you. I'd love to add you to my many highly successful medical professionals that have gotten great cloud architect jobs. So next step, download that completely free cloud architect job guide. Those are going to be the skills, every skill that you need to know to become a wonderful cloud architect. And then after that, guess what? Attend our completely free webinar. And if you'd like, we'll train you. We'll get you hired, we'll get you trained, and you'll have a great career as long as you do the work. But if you want to train elsewhere, at least you'll have the whole skills. You're not going to waste your time learning Python or learning SysOps or DevOps because it's not our role. You can focus 100% of your time on architecture.
So if you all have any questions, we are here for you. Please don't be shy. We're here to help transition you, get you started, or migrate any of those existing technical skills into a foundational application for you to use that to become cloud architects. We have the solutions you need to make sure that you are able to transition into these high in demand positions. There are more cloud architect positions than you realize. And currently the pool of competent people who actually fill these roles are a fraction of what is available in that resource pool. So we want you to be a part of that. Get your training and we can help you with that today. From Chuck G. Hello, gentlemen. I've been watching you for a long time, trying to debate joining your program. I am currently a cloud consultant. I recently had an interview for a cloud security architect and bombed it.
Well, I would be more than happy to help you. I can tell you right now that the average architect earns about $20,000 a month. So over $800 a day. So if I was you, I wouldn't debate it much longer. I would actually get enrolled in our program or some program and go out there and get your job. So The reality is, in 99% of the people that I've interviewed, and I've interviewed over 6,000 people, they always have one of the following problems. Either they don't have the competency required for the job, meaning maybe they want to be an architect and then they go and study engineering, or they just didn't get the right preparation. The second thing is they don't know how to interview properly. Of course, we teach that as well, because you have to be able to see things from the hiring manager's perspective and know what the hiring manager wants, which I'm going to tell you right now. Here's what they want: you to have the ability to do the job. The second question they want to know is, can they trust you? The third question they want to know is, how good are your communication skills? The fourth thing they want to know from you are, do you know your limitations, know what you don't know, so you don't make a mistake? After that, they're looking for your energy, your enthusiasm, and your passion. After that, they're looking for your willingness to go above and beyond, and how good of a team player and how emotionally intelligent you are. So, kind of keep that in the back of your mind. I would be honored to train you, and we see this every single day, but it's not going to get better on its own. It's really about the network in the data center. And for example, when I interview someone, I ask them basic questions on BGP. How would I load share across 2 equal cost private lines connecting to the cloud provider? And when they can't answer it, I know they don't know the job. I'm not going to ask them a basic thing that's on a thing. I'm going to ask them how to design. How would you design a secure demilitarized zone for a mission critical web app? Those are the kind of things. Or how would you design a secure remote access solution? So you just need to be trained. And you'll do great, Chuck. You'll do wonderful, 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 wonderful. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Come, join. And in the meantime, please read the article on how to get your first cloud architect job and see if you really know those skills. See if you know everything that we've listed in there. Because if you don't, you need to be trained for them. And we'd be more than honored to train you. More than honored.
Okay, cool. We actually have a question from the LinkedIn pool, Mike, and it says, please share the roadmap to be a successful learner to gain the work-ready capacity to handle the role as a cloud solution architect. Please share proven steps.
Here's the roadmap. Learn all the correct business and technical skills, and you'll be hired. There is no roadmap, and people ask me this all the day. Look, Jeffrey West was a geologist, and his first job after we trained him was a solution architect. First job. Jordan Kitko was a college student. First job as an architect. Pierre Dassault was working on sailboats. First job as an architect after we trained him. Daniel Bosa was selling shoes at Nordstrom. First job as an architect, and you can see a video of him on our training. Delroy Batt was working on ambulances in EMT. First job as a solution architect after we trained him. And that's where people go wrong. They assume if you work in somebody else's career, you're going to get this, but you're not. So I really want you to think about it this way. If you spent a lot of time fixing airplane engines for an airplane company, and then you wanted to be a pilot, do you think they would just hire you because there was a roadmap that you spend years as an airplane mechanic and then a few years as a flight attendant, and now you're an airplane pilot? Of course not. And that's the mistake people make. They try so hard to learn other people's jobs. They learn DevOps, they learn SysOps, which aren't even related to what we do. They start to learn Python that's not related to what we do. And then poof, they don't get hired. So these are the kind of things that I want you to really think about. The roadmap is get the right training and get hired. Do you know how an airplane pilot gets his or her first job? They go to training, they get hired. How about a physician? You know how they get their first job? They go to medical school. How about somebody that wants to become a lawyer? They go to law school. And here's the thing. These are the highest paying jobs in the world, and cloud architecture generally pays more. I earned far more in cloud architecture and enterprise architecture and network architecture than I ever learned in healthcare, seeing patients in my own practice. And it's that. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. You've got to have the right skills. So come to our free webinar on how to get your first cloud architect job. We'll cover every single skill that you need to know. Come, download that completely free book on a guide and see if you know all the skills. You know all the skills, and you can deliver the presentations the way you need to, and you have the business acumen to understand business, and you know how to sell, you'll have no problem getting a job as your first job. But it's a great question, especially because there's so much misinformation there.
From Bernard, I signed up for the Cloud Architect program in the middle of 2022. Took a cloud security job and had to stop the program as my new job is demanding. How do I reactivate my account and start all over again?
Well, Bernard, I think we need to clear a few things up. It's normal for us to have people that start to take our program, they start to get the soft skills, and then they get a good job. And then they stop our program. But the program never expires. You can stay in the program until the day you're hired. So as long as if you're in a payment plan, you finished your payment plan or made a one-time payment and bought it, there's no reactivating anything. Just come to class. Now, granted, as a rule, you have unlimited time, meaning as long as you want on the on-demand part. You have unlimited access to our Slack community. We typically have a 12-month, limit on the live classes, which you could potentially reactivate. But just come to class, Bernard. Nobody's going to stop you. We'd be thrilled to have you. So just come to class. Log into your portal, see where those classes are, and boom, you're done. And if your account is not up to date, for example, maybe you didn't finish your payment plan, then send an email to admin@gocloudcareers.net, and they can figure out what you need to do to get squared away. But as long as your account is current because you bought it and then didn't finish the course, we'd be thrilled and honored to bring you back. Just come back to class, but send an email to admin@gocloudcareers.net, and my team will be able to help you get back in class because I only care about your success, and that's really what matters to me. But so send an email to admin@gocloudcareers.net because the program has been updated and improved significantly. Look, the program was perfect. It was getting people hired, but as the market changes, we constantly adapt and improve our program based upon what employers are looking for. So let's make sure we get you squared away. Send an email to admin@gocloudcareers.net. Great question. We're thrilled to see you in class.
From Tu and Hughes, I'm looking for a cloud architect job. I got an AWS Solutions Architect Associate, AWS Developers Associate, AWS Systems Operations, and a few more, and I have done projects for a year. I have had some interviews, but I never got hired.
Oh, Tu and Hughes, I get so upset when I see this. First, I can tell you, there's some rumor going on the internet, I don't know who's perpetuating it, that you should get a SysOps certification, a developer associate, and other things to be an architect. And I'll tell you why that's wrong in a minute. The second thing, I'd like to know what cloud projects have you done? Please tell me in the chat box. Have you designed architecture for organizations? Have you given presentations? Have you built business cases? Have you been practicing responding to RFIs, RFPs, and RFQs? Have you led a team of technology professionals, or were you doing engineering projects such as, installing a web server, setting up a Terraform script, learning Linux? Please tell me. Because 99% of the time I see people waste their time on cloud projects and certifications, and they do the project for someone else's job. Now, again, if I need you to fly an airplane, I don't need you to be able to fix the engine. So please tell me, I bet you're doing all those hands-on techie projects and not architecture projects. Here's the other thing. Brand matters. And I'll give you a student I had, his name was Arun. He was working at Home Depot. We got him a great cloud architect job, and he's been so happy every time I've spoken to him. He had all those developer associate and SysOps and DevOps associate things on his resume, and he wanted interview after interview after interview, and people kept asking him engineering questions like, Mike, what's going on here? And then Tu and Hughes, here's what I did. I called him and I said, do you mind if I take your resume in class and fix it? And he says, Mike, anything you need to do. I took that SysOps certification on his resume because it hurt his brand. I took that developer associate off his brand. And the only thing we kept was the Google Professional Cloud Architect and the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. And now he looked like an architect. He went on his first interview and poof, he was actually hired. Absolutely. So I want you to think about that. So it's brand. If you wanted to be a doctor and you on your wall, you wanted to be a cardiothoracic surgeon and you said, dog walker, accountant, construction worker, and surgeon, would you go to that person? No, of course you wouldn't. Because you know that their brain, their training, and their mindset would be all over the place. You want a surgeon that does nothing other than surgery. So we got to get your brand there. So if you're doing those hands-on projects, the kind that I see all those free bootcamp projects on the internet, here, create this Linux thing, create this Terraform thing, create this Python thing, you're practicing in someone else's job. So that would kind of be like a marathon runner who decides to go bodybuilding and gain 50 pounds of muscle, as opposed to training for the next marathon. I promise you it's not going to work out. So please tell us what you have done. And I want to help you. And I hear this every day and it breaks my heart. Okay, I see what you said. Yep, that's what I've been learning. So you've been doing all these hands-on engineering projects, and that's your problem. We got to get you out of those engineering projects and into the architectural projects. So please join our next completely free webinar on how to get your first cloud architect job, because I want to stop this. I don't want you wasting any more time. I want you hired and I want you earning. And download the free document on how to get your first architect job, because I want to help you. You've got to train for your career. You have to have the brand for your career. And brand means everything. Apple is known for fun and easy. They're a $3 trillion company because of it. And, look at it this way. General Motors, they make great cars, but what are they? Are they cars? Are they trucks? Are they this or that? Nobody. Now, you get a Ferrari, it's got a brand. It's a performance car. Look what they charge. So we got to tune your resume. We got to optimize your resume. We got to optimize your knowledge and skill set so you can be the best. I don't mean to be delivering bad news. I want to help you, and I will help you.
The coder from above. Do you think I need skills in data architecture?
If you want to be a data architect, yes. If you want to be a data scientist, yes. Do you need some skills in data architecture? Sure, but I want you to understand this. Now, I like vampire movies. I watch them with my brother. And one of these things that's amazing in vampire movies is people live for thousands of years. And if you could live for thousands of years, you can spend 50 to 100 years to master networking, and 50 to 100 years to master data architecture, and 50 to 100 years to be the best DevOps person in the world, and another 50 years to be a security architect, but we don't. So being an architect is about having a very wide skill set of different skills and being a good leader to be able to create the teams on demand of the experts and then leading those teams. I'm never a solo architect. Architecture is a team sport. In fact, we do a lot of work in Africa, and I love all things from Africa. And there's a quote from Africa. It's a proverb that lives with me, and it's near and dear to my heart. And it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So whenever it comes to an architecture, you can't know it all. And if you try, you're going to fail. You'll spread yourself so thin, and in the end, you know nothing about anything. But focus on those good leadership skills. And that way you can build the team. Yeah, we're dealing with generative AI everywhere now. And I promise you, 99% of you are not going to be experts with generative AI, but there's AI architects that are. So build your team, lead that team, bring out the best in others. And then when it comes down to it, other people will ask you for help and have your thing that you're good at, and you'll be great. People come to me for networking. It's either the business stuff or the networking. That's where they really come to me. You give me a 15,000 router network and I'm all kinds of excited. I become a kid again and the geek in me comes out. I just love it. But that's my world. So, you will need to understand it, but you're not going to be hands-on it, but you're going to have to understand the elements. For example, in data architecture, what's your databases look like? Why do you have a relational database, a NoSQL database, and a data warehouse? What kind of architecture needs to happen to normalize that data and map and reduce it is typically a Python Spark script. How are you leveraging object storage for the metadata and doing so? Are you creating landing zones? What kind of artificial intelligence and machine learning are you going to do to that? Yeah, that you need to know. We teach all those things to our clients. But to be a data architect is a completely different skill set. And you can spend years becoming a data architect. Great question, Dakota from above. Love it.
From Kevin, how is the Enterprise Architect program different from the Elite Cloud Architect program that you offer?
Well, Kevin, the Elite Architect program actually includes the Enterprise Architect program in it, plus other things. It also includes our incredible interview training program. It also includes our tech leadership program, and it includes that. So the Elite program is basically everything you need to be the best cloud and enterprise architect in the world, and go out there and earn more and be closer to get those principal architect jobs several years from now. The enterprise architect job is designed to prepare you for an enterprise architect job or even a cloud architect job, and we're real good with what we have in there. But we have more business acumen and more hands-on things, hands-on between the instructors and the students in the Elite program. That's just our highest touch product. And honestly, it's the best thing I've ever created in my entire life. And it's funny, We had a new student sign up, and he already wrote me a letter. And I'll read the letter that he wrote to me. He signed up last week, and he sends me a text message today, not a Slack message, which didn't necessarily follow our, our normal messaging standards. But it says, finished up with something on Sunday. Every time, I'm going to cut that part down, but I know, no, here's what it was. Hi, Mike, had the pleasure to review the documents in the Tech Leadership Program. Wow, what an incredible section with an overflowing with wisdom that simply can be described as pure gold. Anyone signing up who signed up for this program already is a real treat with that new section. The video managing difficult conversations was probably my favorite, as it was an experience that was given to me and very personal to me. Anyway, just wanted to let you know how much I enjoyed reviewing that section. I hope your day is going great, and so far, thank you again. From a student directly in that program. So that's the difference. Let's go to Bernard, because I knew that was what was going to happen to Bernard. Because it happens so often in our program.
Back to Bernard. I should mention that the few weeks training you provided me helped ace my interview and got the job. Looking forward to reactivating my account today, as I did a one-time payment in 2022. Could my current role as a cloud security engineer help in my goal of becoming a cloud security architect? Also, do I need to learn other cloud provider services aside from AWS to become a good cloud security engineer?
Okay, Bernard, life is cumulative, and I'm sure some of the technology experience you have in engineering will help you. But remember, an architect and an engineer are like a lion and a German shepherd. Beautiful animals, smart, vibrant, capable, big, but completely different, so they'll be there. I'm very happy that our interview training that we had was able to get you a better job. We see this happen all the time. But I want you to understand that cloud security isn't the stuff that's taught in an AWS Advanced Security. It's just not. It's just not. You're going to be dealing with real cloud security tools. That means next generation firewalls, which the cloud providers don't make. It means good intrusion detection, intrusion prevention systems. Again, coming from external organizations. VPN concentrators for remote access. Dedicated access management systems that you're going to be dealing with. Data loss prevention systems, again, you're going to be dealing with. Security event monitoring systems and data correlation systems, again. And in a real architecture, you're not going to buy it from AWS, Azure, or Google. You're going to buy things from Palo Alto and Fortinet and Checkpoint and Cisco and Snowflake and F5 and so many other organizations. So that's the good news. When it really comes to serious enterprise security, it's the same tools on all clouds that you typically get out of the marketplace anyway. So you must understand the cloud, not a cloud provider, because we're seeing what's called a lot of cloud repatriation, and here's why. We've told people forever, and the reason in our training we've always included OpenStack training and private cloud training was because we knew people were going to wake up one day and say, oh my God, the cloud cost me 3 times more than my data center. Wow, it's too expensive. And it doesn't perform as well. But the cloud provides agility and scalability, which is a business benefit that no one else in the world can provide. So we love the cloud. We absolutely love the cloud. Love it. But we need to design our systems better. So the good news is, when you take our course and you learn how to do systems in the private cloud, it's the same systems you do in all the public clouds too, and it's there. And besides, 98% of organizations are multi-cloud, which means I can't use AWS WAF and Google Cloud Armor at the same time. I can't. But I can use the same Palo Alto or Cisco firewalls configured with a similar policy in both clouds at the same time. And that's where the magic happens, when you've got the good industrial tools. And at the end of the day, do you really want to buy something from somebody that does a little of everything fairly well? Or do you want the best of the best tools in all your architectures? And they come from the dedicated security vendors. So you bought the program already? Good. Send an email to admin@GoCloudCareers. Good. And we'll get you back in class, and we will help you get an even better job. Help you with the first one, and we'll do, if you stick around longer, we'll be able to get you a lot more. Can't wait to see you back in class, Bernard.
Welcome back. From Prab Sharan. I am planning to enroll for the Cloud Architect program. I cleared my AWS Solutions Architect 2 weeks ago. What will be the process till hiring? When I enroll, I am 100% dedicated towards getting a job soon.
Well, what you're going to do is you're going to take our program and you're going to stay in our program until the day you are hired. We are not a boot camp. We would never impose some kind of crazy restrictions like 16 weeks, get out of here. And then as you're not in the program, because the boot camps kick you out 16 weeks later or 24 weeks later, you're forgetting the things that you learned, making it harder and harder and harder for you to get hired. So you stay in our program. The process will take you between 6 and 12 months because what's covered in the AWS exams really is barely anything. Now, those exams are highly challenging and they're hard. So I congratulate you for doing the work. But please understand, that certification was the name of a service like DynamoDB and how do I set up a table in it. In real life, you'll probably never use DynamoDB because 98% of organizations are multi-cloud. So you'll have to choose between Apache Cassandra and MongoDB. Oh, by the way, AWS knows that and they canceled their database specialty exam because you can't use it anyway in today's world of multi-cloud. So they got rid of the near relative exam. Of course, you can see the certification providers being upset about it because they were more interested in getting somebody certified than helping somebody get a job. But that's neither here nor there. I only care about you getting a job, which is why our focus is that. So what you'll do is you'll come into the program. You'll start the program on your own pace. You'll learn the business skills, the leadership skills, the sales skills. You'll come to live architecture classes, and we will do real architecture projects in class. Right now, our group is working on an architecture process. They're working on a fairly large lift and shift, which 50% of the architecture is on. About 2 months ago, our students worked on an architecture for artificial intelligence for a fitness organization, which they were working on. Sometimes our students will design architectures for banks. Our students will design how you would set up a social media provider. Our students will set up global retailers, global healthcare organizations, everything you would encounter in the world. Well, so you will come to class, and once you get past a certain percentage of what you need to learn, guess what's going to happen? The interview training will come up, and the branding training will come up, and you'll start making posts. And people are going to reach out to you when you put out the good bait out there. And we know exactly how to teach you how to put the good bait out there. And then you do that, poof, you're up, you're running, and you've got a fantastic job. And you'll stay in our program until you're there. Now, it may be that while you're in our program, you get offered another job. That's pretty common. Like Bernard just came on, or Delroy Batt was with us for 3 weeks, and he ended up getting a cloud security engineering job, and then stayed in our program for another year and got his first cloud security architect job. This is his first tech job, but you will do well. And I kind of hope you can come join us in some of our free webinars and we can talk face to face, but you'll do well and you'll work the program. And the faster you work the program, the faster you will be ready to be hired. So the process will be in class, do the work. The work that we do in class is identical to the job we do as architects. Our students will have to obtain business requirements from us. They will have to respond to RFIs, RFQs. They will deliver sales presentations to us. They will write up the documents. Architect, you'll do it all. And when you're done, you're going to be really, really good. And you'll be getting hired past people that actually have 10 and 20 years experience. It happens all the time. So I look forward to seeing you. Plus, you got the name Lion in there as your name, Sing. And we all know I love lions. So anybody that's got a lion background, I really want to work with.
Awesome, Mike. From Tin Man, thanks for answering the previous question. My friend is a cloud engineer who told me I needed to become an expert in DevOps, Terraform, Python, and more to be an architect. Is this true?
Tin Man, let me try to give you some guidance. And I really want to help you, and I'm so happy you're here. I would not ask an engineer what I need to do to be an architect, no differently than I would ask a flight attendant what I actually need to do to be an airplane pilot, or ask a nurse how to be a surgeon, because they just don't know. They mean well. And here's what happens. This is something my wife said. My wife's a genius with 170 IQ. She actually learned Spanish in 11 days because her translators couldn't understand her thoughts. That's how freaky smart she said. And when I was younger, she said, Mike, because I had gone to get my hair cut and they told me I needed a new hairstyle. And I came home and I said this to my wife, and my wife laughed. She says, Mike, if you get a haircut, they're going to tell you need a new hair color or a new hairstyle. They said, if you call a landscaper, they're going to tell you they need landscaping in for your house. If you call a painter, they're going to tell you they need painting. So what happens, Tin Man, is everybody sees it from their perspective. Here's the reality. An architect and an engineer couldn't be any more different. And an engineer knows nothing of what we do in our life. But the engineer has seen this. The engineer, I can tell you, knows that most architects they speak to are business executives. Most of them don't know how to code. They wouldn't know how to deliver a Terraform script if their life depended on it. And they sure don't know much about DevOps because that's not our focus. Our architect focus is how do we drive transformation to our clients? How do we make our clients' business better? So for a cloud engineer, they better know DevOps, they better know Terraform, they better know Python, Bash shell scripting, and other things, because that's their skill set. That's what makes them special. But if you work as an architect for a company, an AWS, an Azure, a Google, a Cisco, an IBM, a Microsoft, an Accenture, Deloitte, KPMG, Capgemini, you're not going to be allowed to touch the customer's technology. They'll have security escort you out at the door and fire you if you tried to touch the customer's technology, because that's not your job. There's teams that do that. We design it, present it, sell it, and a team of engineers goes and builds it. So your skills, and please download that completely free guide on how to get your first architect job. And please come here, are going to be business acumen. Why? Our job is to improve the business, so we must know something about business. Now, we've got to convince the customer to buy our architectures, right? We have to. Otherwise, they become PowerPoint presentations. They just die. So in order to do that, we have to understand the executives and how to communicate to the executives and how to sell. We then, people have asked about becoming data architects, and I said you have to be able to lead a large team. You have to be able to lead that team. Have to, because you can't do it yourself. Now, we're going to have to write documents for architectures. We're going to be writing documents. They're called white papers or thought leadership documents to influence the industry. So you're going to have executive writing skills. Have to. And then when it all comes down to it, you're going to be giving presentations almost every day. So it's your presentation skills. So they're your business skills. And then when it comes to the systems, you're not going to look at code. It's irrelevant to you. What are you designing? Networking and data center systems. If we talk about an Azure virtual machine, a Google Compute Engine instance, an Oracle virtual machine, an AWS EC2 instance, it's a data center technology, and it's been going on since VMware invented the hypervisor in 1999. Now, when we talk about do we connect to the cloud with a VPN or a direct connection, which is a private line, or a software-defined network WAN or a SASE WAN, that's networking. You've got to understand that. So it all comes down to cloud, network, data center, and all those business skills. No coding in our world, no DevOps in our world, no infrastructure as code in our world. Those are engineering domains. And again, those engineers are very important people, but it's just not our job. So I recommend staying away from the engineers when it comes to learning how to be an architect. If you wanted to become a cloud engineer, ask an engineer, and I'll give you some more guidance. Don't ask an intern. So lots of people look for interns, like an associate solution architect is an intern. They don't know what they need either because they've never had the job yet. They graduate the job and they move into a solution architect or they get fired. That's typically what happens. So don't ask an intern. I'm also going to recommend don't ask a regular architect or even a senior architect. Why? Because I know many people's first architect job starts as a senior solution architect, like I'll register a water student. When he got hired with a month of experience, he probably doesn't know how to move up to the principal architect or the other big role. So when it comes to asking architects, ask a principal architect, ask a director that hires the architect, ask a VP of architecture. And that's what I can tell you. I was a principal architect in 2 years, and I've been helping architects get jobs for like 20 years now. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Don't worry about what the engineers think of your job because you're not in the same job. But I understand the wanting to go out there. I've got a friend in the cloud, let me ask them. But you have to have the job to know what you need. I hope that actually makes sense. If you all have questions, please ask them in the chat box. We want to help you.
Folashaki, how does the architecture career compare to, for example, a career as a strategy manager?
Alonzo, are you familiar as a career as a strategy manager? Because I've never heard of one before.
I've not heard of that title before. Strategy of what? Of what industry? How? Why? So that's a very broad terminology, Folashaki. But if you could elaborate, that'd be great.
Yeah, and if you're asking as a strategy consultant, that's another story.
Different.
So I will tell you, and while we wait for your answer, I've worked as a strategy consultant, which is typically called a business architect. And then I've worked as an enterprise architect, which is basically the same job. And then I've worked as an enterprise, as a cloud architect, which is almost the same job. So what we do is really architecture jobs. Architecture jobs.
Back to, okay, if working at a consultancy, what should an employee do if employed as a cloud architect but is asked to write code?
Well, if they're really working for a consultancy, they're not going to be asked to write code. And here's the way it works in all these big consultancies. I'm going to make it pretty clear to you. You've got a local person, US people in the US, UK people in the UK, Australian people in Australia that are there, that are actually doing the architecture, doing the designs, doing the presentations, doing the sales, doing the RFPs, writing up the documents. And then when it comes to building the code, they typically hire someone overseas in a lower cost part of the world where they've got really highly educated people like India. So companies, the best run companies, are not going to take their $200 an hour architect and ask them to write code when they can hire a $15 engineer in another part of the world to write the code. It doesn't make sense. So if you take an architect that's $200 an hour and you ask him to write code for 8 hours, you just cost the company $1,600. That $1,600 could be focused on driving the next million or 10 million or $1 billion deal, not writing code. You can take that and hire a really good software developer in another part of the world and pay them $15 times 8, so which is $120 versus, $1,200 or $1,600. So companies are generally not going to do it. Now, there are some poorly run companies that have asked architects to do engineering work, and here's what ultimately happens. They typically end up failing, and these organizations talk about this. So let me give you an example, Falashaki. At one time, I worked for a financial firm. They were the largest market maker on the NASDAQ. And we had a chief information officer that was tech obsessed. I was working there as an architect. And he determined out of nowhere that I was going to have to learn Linux, bash scripting, and write something called an expect TCL script to automate things. Now, I said to him, I don't know how to code. I have no desire to code. Are you sure you want to send me to code? Yes, Mike, I need you to do this. And I said to him, are you sure? Because you got all these little coders over here that don't cost what I cost, and you have some major network problems that you need me to figure out and solve. Yes, Mike, go to. So I went to Burlington, Massachusetts to Sun Microsystems. That's where they were at the time. Now they're Oracle. I had a good expense account. I had some good steaks. I had some really good wine, Silver Oak wine, which I typically like. I had some Macallan 25 Scotch. It was delicious. It was great. Brought my wife. We had all kinds of fun. And while I was there, they had a pretty serious outage. They lost over $10 million. And then they said, Michael, I never, ever want you to try to touch this technology again. I need you to do what you need to do. And I'm so sorry I did this. So kind of keep that in the back of their mind. Now, I have had other people ask me, would you like to do engineering? And I said, well, I'm not the best person to do it. You have all these engineers that are there. My strength is this, and this. And they're like, yeah, you're right. Okay. So I've never been. That was the last time I was asked, and it was in 2000, 23 years ago. And it looks like you said you meant as a strategy consultant. Absolutely. Definitely. Strategy consultant and architect are pretty much the same job. Most strategy consultants are considered business architects. Does anyone have any other questions, or do we not get to anything? Please ask them now. Lonzo and I can stay a few more minutes. If you've got questions, we want to answer them. Didn't there used to be a Radio Shack commercial? You've got questions, we have answers.
I may have been old enough to see that, Mike. I'm not sure.
Well, you're 1 or 2 years older than me, so even though you look, so I think you probably do. But for those of us that like to get a little geeky, even though I can't afford to do it in my architect job, there used to be this store called Radio Shack, and you could buy your transistors, resistors, some basic chips there, boards to create your own PC boards, and boy, did I have fun geeking out and building radios and all kinds of things like that. So I do like to get hands-on. It's just that I can't afford to do it in my architect job. So I've got a lab that people would laugh out of my house. a 10 server OpenStack cloud, you name it. I've got all kinds of things going on. So do you have any last questions? Please ask them. And if not, Alonzo and I will go back to work. But in the meantime, I want to make sure that you get the completely free guide on how to win the interview. I don't want to see interview waste another interview. And interviews are a chance to change your life. You got to seize that opportunity. It's like being invited to the Olympics. If you're there, do you want to get that gold medal or even the silver medal, or do you want nobody to know your name at the end? Kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So please ask your questions. So definitely get the architect guide, how to get your first architect job. Definitely get involved in the win the interview guide, and come to our completely free Enterprise Architect webinar tomorrow while we wait for more questions. I think I saw one more question pop in. Ask them now, or Alonzo and I have a lot of things to do.
How does business architect differ from cloud architect?
So when we work as a business architect, we evaluate the business to try to help their business with their goals. And we typically evaluate the people, the processes, and technology, because they are our three inputs in business. But as a business architect, we don't typically know anything about technology. So then we would bring a cloud architect in to help consult to us for our business strategy of people, processes, and technology. So you can think of a business architect as, looking through, helping with the finances, helping with accounting practices, helping with business process re-engineering, helping with a marketing structure, helping with delivering a new product to market. You can think of an enterprise architect as kind of a business architect with some technology background. And you can think of the cloud architect that's still concerned about building the business, but their tools are cloud architectures, meaning network, data center, and cloud technologies. That's what they provide. But the same goal of a strategy consultant is there. And the reality is, how I learned to be a really good architect? I went and took off a year and worked as a business architect. That's really what changed my architect salary. And we're not talking by a little, we're talking like well over almost $200,000 a year, learning those business architect skills and then adding them to my tech architect skills. It just made that much of a difference. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind, that that's the real thing. Business architect, more focused on business. Cloud architect, a little more focused on tech. Designing architecture solutions of technology versus architecture solutions of just people and processes. But we have to remember, anytime we add technology, it affects the way people work. And that's why we need these interactions in the enterprise architects and the cloud architects to make sure that the new technology won't break things. For example, I knew a company that was security obsessed many years ago. They went so security obsessed that they required like 18-letter passwords, and each system, of which they had 125, had a different set of passwords. So here's what happened. You'd walk down the hallway, and people had sticky notes on their computer of all their little 20-level character passwords. It was crazy. So what in the end? They opened themselves to even more hacking than they would have if they didn't look at it. So that's just an example. So great question. And everyone, please ask your questions. I see a couple are coming in. Ask them. If not, Alonzo and I go back to work, which, we're happy to do. But then the questions typically come in as we close afterwards, and we want to help you. So don't be shy.
As regards promotion, is it possible to ascend to corporate hierarchy more than once per year?
Definitely, I have. Now, here's the best way to do it. You really want to know the secret to getting hired, to getting promoted fast? It's take advantage of economies when they're bad. See, what happens in a bad economy like now is companies get rid of weaker people. So you could be strong, and you could have a manager that's a weak manager, and they go. They still need a manager. So now it's your opportunity to take that team lead, and poof, you're now the new manager. And you do a good job on that, and then a year later, you're a senior manager. A year later, you can be a director if you're good at what you do. So yes, you can do it, and yes, I have done it. I went from senior engineer to architect within months at the world's largest internet service provider, so you can do it. No, that's different than taking 10 different jobs at 10 different companies. And that looks very different. If you're at one company and you change jobs and each one goes up, that looks good for you. If you have 10 jobs in 10 years, that does not. It makes it harder to get hired. Now, sometimes, the economy's bad and people have to shift around, and I get it. But yes, you can do it, and I've done it. But typically, one promotion per year is normal. unless you focus on the things that employers really care about. And when you really bring up your emotional intelligence, your leadership skills, your sales skills, your executive presence, your business acumen, poof, that's like the magic bullet, magic pill to get you to the goal. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Yes, you can do it. And SDO, I see your question, but I don't know what E2E is. Could you maybe spell that out? So, it's funny. I used to, I don't use acronyms, and I don't do it for a reason because they cause a mistake. And here's how I learned it. When I worked in networking, we had something called the PVC, which was a permanent virtual connection. It's very much like Private Link. And one day somebody called me up in the middle of the night and they said, Mike, we're having too many PVC problems. And I said, give a lidocaine bolus and then start a lidocaine drip at this. And the engineer said, what are you talking about? I said, you said the patient has so many premature ventricular contractions. And he said, no, I'm talking about the permanent virtual connections. So maybe you can give us a little guidance. So end to end. Oh, okay. Okay. So SDO, if I can guide you a little bit about how to earn more in your career, try not to use acronyms, especially with executives, because they typically won't know your acronym. So now I can answer your question. You moved into an end-to-end architect after being a technical SME, technical trainer, and a solutions architect. Going for chartered engineer status soon, love content like this. Yeah, that sounds wonderful if you like that. Or you can move into a principal architect role anyway. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. You'll have more opportunity and greater finances in the architecture world than the engineering. And but there's these roles called charter engineers and distinguished engineers. And for those of you that like to be techie, oh wow, we really need you guys, and congratulations. I worked with a lot of you guys over the years, and it's a wonderful career. So thank you for popping in. Apologies on not understanding the acronym. I have an aversion to acronyms because I remember people were dying in hospitals when people used the acronym MS. And sometimes they were talking about morphine sulfate, and sometimes they were talking about multiple sclerosis. So I went through, because I practiced internal medicine as a nurse practitioner first, I went through all this anti-acronym training, and then I actually moved into tech and everybody used acronyms. And one of my clients sent me a message and he says, hey, how much should I ask for? And I said, what's the role you're in? And he said, VM. I said, virtual machines? And he says, no. I said, you're working in voicemail systems? Because I worked in that. And he said, no, I'm working in vulnerability management. And I said, okay, well, here's what you need to do. So just a thought. I am so thrilled to have you here. And, if you're working as a lead end-to-end architect, you've got a good background. You're just like us. And we're thrilled to have people like you on our channel.
Folashaki, does the business architect role require an MBA?
Well, traditionally, a business architect and a strategy consultant usually requires an MBA. That was traditionally, but universities are not delivering. They're not providing the kind of education that's necessary for these roles. So most companies have actually dropped degree requirements. Most of them. And, kind of keep that in the back of your mind. IBM is a consulting company, dropped degree requirements. Microsoft is a very large technology consulting arm and a business solutions group of experts. They dropped their degree requirements. Google dropped their degree requirements. So what's happening is employers need skills. They don't care about certifications. They don't care about degrees. They don't care about your GPAs. They need skills. Skills, 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 skills. So at one point it mattered. Now, actually, IBM, Bear Stearns, the financial firm, they had a document floating around. I wish I still had it. It was letters from the IBM executives. It was the greatest book, and you could see the memos they had internally. And they said, we don't need MBAs, we need PhDs. A PhD was poor, smart, with a deep desire to be rich. And they found that hiring somebody that was smart, that was motivated, that had the fight to will to win, did a far better job than hiring people from fancy schools. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. But I know strategy consultants and business architects without an MBA. I know a lot of them with MBAs. It's about your ability to optimize a business and your ability to communicate and your ability to present and your ability to lead. That's really what always matters when it comes down to it. How good are you at the job? Not what does your paperwork look like. You know, in healthcare, I hung my degrees on the wall because we were told to do that, and our licenses on the wall. In tech, not a single time has anybody asked me where I got my degree and what my GPA is. And quite frankly, they never asked about my certifications. It got so bad that when I was at Cisco, my manager was a VP when I was a lead architect for an entire industry vertical. And I worked really hard for the CCIE exam, and it cost me tens of thousands of dollars to pass it, which is normal. And my manager said, could you remove the CCIE from your business cards? Could you remove the CISSP from your business cards? Could you move the Cisco Certified Design Professional off your business cards? And when he said it, my heart dropped. And I said, the CCIE? And he said, Michael, you're now in a enterprise architect role. Do you want to be seen as a business executive that can drive transformation for your clients? Or do you want to be seen as a hands-on techie? He said, this job pays you $500,000 a year. This one pays you $150,000. Which one do you want? I said, the business executive. We dropped it and got multiple promotions in a matter of a few years. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. You don't have to have an MBA, but you have to understand business and be great at it.
From Garada, how are the cloud architect salaries in the United Kingdom?
Garada, well, we've gotten lots of people hired in the United Kingdom. I will tell you they're lower than the US. I would say they're typically between 80 and 130,000 pounds sterling from what we're seeing with our graduates, which is still a good salary. But that's about what we're seeing in the UK, and we're seeing plenty of great architect jobs in the UK. We've got people working in banks in the UK. We've got people working for consultancies like Capgemini. We've got people working for other consultancies and other organizations and other cloud providers, and it is a great job. And there are plenty of opportunities in the UK.
Khadijah, which one is hands-on, cloud architect or engineering?
Well, let's talk about what we mean by hands-on. Hands-on for every job is different. Hands-on for a pilot is flying the plane. Hands-on for a flight attendant is keeping people in the seats and handing out drinks, etc. So everything is hands-on, but in cloud engineering, you touch the technology. In cloud architecture, you don't touch the technology. So cloud architects design it, present it, and sells it. Engineering builds it. Keep that in the back of your mind. Now, I would be very cautious with hands-on jobs. Definitely would be. And here's the reason why. Engineering jobs, for example, an air engineer would write a Python script. You can write a Python script with AI. Today, you can write a Terraform script with AI. You can write an Azure Bicep script with AI. You can write a Bash Shell script with AI. You can do half of the engineering with AI today, only half. So if you're going to be in engineering, I need you to understand this. You're going to have to develop your business acumen, your leadership skills, your sales skills, your executive presence, and your presentation skills. And if you don't, understand that artificial intelligence or outsourcing will probably replace you in the next 3 to 5 years. As an architect job, you can't be replaced because it's not hands-on. Because that architect job is meeting with clients, human to human. Leading team, human to human. Giving presentations, human to human. Selling your architectures, human to human. Entertaining clients, human to human. It's that special human touch of the architects that gets them paid more, which keeps them from getting laid off in the same way that engineers do when times go bad. So in the world of AI, I would find myself in cloud architecture. I will also tell you that we had a wonderful cloud engineering program. I mean, really great. But we stopped selling it about 1.5 years ago because I didn't want to train people for a career that I didn't think would exist 5 to 10 years from now. Now, the best of the best engineers will always be here. They'll always be here, always. Because we can't function without the best engineers. But when AI can do what the average or the bottom 50% of engineers can go, companies can probably get rid of 50% of their engineers and still operate the same way they do today. especially as the technology changes, but they can never get rid of their architect. So both jobs are good. But if you want to stay in engineering, work on those people skills and work on being the best of the best and becoming a deep expert on one thing as opposed to many things. If you want to be in architecture, you're safe.
From back to Garada, do you have a free presentation guide?
Presentations are really something that needs a lot of work. It's not something you can read in a guide. You have to be able to present it. Someone's going to have to look at you. They're going to have to determine your variations in your vocal tone. They're going to have to look at your pacing. They're going to have to look at your gestures. And that's why we kind of provide that in our Cloud Architect training program, because we have to do it live. And to be fair, I've taken, $20,000, $30,000 of presentation training. The company's actually paid it for me because I was an architect and it was that important. But no, we can't create a free presentation guide like that. Even Jerry Weissman's presenting to Winbook, which was great. Those of us that read that book still dealt with the people that had hands-on one-on-one coaching with us and executive coaches. And that's why when you see an executive, they typically have something called the Marcom manager, which is a marketing communication manager. They make their presentations for them. They make their slides for them with the graphics team. And then they run through the presentations with the executives for that, because that's how critical this is. So that's not something we can put in a written guide. I wish there was. It's not something we can turn into a YouTube video. I wish there was, or we would do it. That requires hands-on expert training, watching you and tuning you along the line. And that's exactly what we do in our training. So I wish I could, but it just wouldn't be effective. Some things you just can't learn by watching videos. So if you've got some questions, please feel free to ask them.
Folashaki, does this imply that an employee can seamlessly transition from cloud architect to business architect?
If the employee has sufficient business acumen. So someone that took our elite architect program definitely could, because they get enough business to be a business architect or a cloud architect. Now, I seamlessly went back and forth. But in my career, I did something different than most people. When I started my tech career, and I had my first real big tech job around 2000, and when I got to that tech job, Folashaki, I did something different. I asked my manager, Devendra, and I said, Devendra, I said, can I go speak to the VP? It's like, Mike, what did I do wrong? What do you want to speak to the VP about? And he said to me, I said to him, I really want to learn how to be the best network architect you guys could ever imagine or ever dream of. And I said, I figure the VP actually knows what things they're going to promote for. So Devendra, can I speak to him? So Devendra both had a smile, and he's like, okay, so you want to speak to my manager's manager about how to excel? I said, yes. And he said, let me see if I can make that happen. So my manager called his manager, Dan. And Dan, I could hear him laughing on the phone in front of me. This is the best idea I've ever seen. Where'd you hire this guy from? And Devendra says an open house from a recruiter named Dragos. So anyway, I met Dan, I met the VP, and the VP said, look, do you want to succeed? Do this, and this. And what did he tell me? He told me tech skills weren't enough. He told me to build up my business, my leadership, my sales, my communication skills, and my presentation skills. So I did. So when I had an architect job and they said, Mike, I need a business architect, I said, okay. They hired me. And then they had later an enterprise architect job that they're like, Mike, this would be perfect for you. And I said, I'd love it. So I go back and forth between the architect roles. I've done them all. And, I don't like to do the same thing too many times. So I'm always somewhat of an enterprise architect, business architect in everything I do, but I like to play with different kinds of technology so I don't get bored. And that's the beauty of an architecture career. You can constantly change. No 2 days are the same. You can always be in a position to help your clients, and you can have a career that you love that pays you more than you've ever dreamed. That's why I love architecture jobs so much. It's a fun job. No, and nobody's asking you to come in at 2:00 in the morning and fix code. When the engineers are doing that, you're sleeping at home with your family. It's kind of nice. Or you're in a nice 5-star hotel when you're traveling. Again, kind of nice, or 4-star, whatever, depending upon where you're at. But you got to do what you love. You have to. I spent 7 years in school for healthcare and liked it. I did. But I love tech. Still do. After 20 some years. Still do. Almost 25. It's 25 years and I still love it. So do exactly what you love and watch all the things that you could ever enjoy come to life for you. So I think that's the last question we have. So let me end on this. Come to our How to Get Your First Enterprise Architect job tomorrow. Look forward to meeting you. It'll be on Zoom. You can ask me questions and we want to help you. Download that How to Get Your First Architect job. Please download it. It's free, as is the presentation tomorrow. And download the free guide on winning the interview. And go out there and build the career you love. Thank you so much for coming today, and it was an honor to spend some time with you all.
Thank you, everyone.